start to shout, Dr. Keith, it's terrible. I can't stand the size of your needle.
Alwell Roberts died in 2000. Indeed, he's talking about a penicillin injection. Don't get it twisted. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM.
She wouldn't lie down quietly.
No, she wouldn't. Huh? But today we're talking about something, I guess for many of you, it probably says as painful as an injection, even more so. We're talking about one of the autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis. I'll be finding out what it is from a rheumatologist, Dr. Jifa Day of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And next to her, I have an equally gorgeous guest, Charity Sefako Zomelo. Lives with the condition we're going to be talking about. She'll be sharing it from the patient's perspective. We'll find out what it is, how common it is, how it comes about that your own immune system will fight itself and cause this painful condition we know as rheumatoid arthritis. Dr. Day and Charity, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You heard what Dr. Kitch says. People are afraid of injections.
Yes.
But there are many other things we don't know that much about, which we should be equally concerned about.
Definitely.
Right. Rheumatoid arthritis. Mm-hmm. It's a mouthful, and I'm taking my time so that my tongue doesn't trip over it. But you're a rheumatologist. Okay, what does a rheumatologist do?
So, rheumatism, mainly from what the name suggests, a lot of people know rheumatism as things that have got to do with the joints.
Okay.
So, rheumatology deals with anything that has got to do with the joints and the tissues that connect to it. Mm-hmm. So, apart from the joints, you have muscles, we have what we call connective tissue. And in the end, you find connective tissue in most areas of the body.
Okay.
So we deal with a lot of diseases that involve this connective tissue. And most of those diseases tend to be what we call autoimmune diseases.
Okay.
So even though the name sounds like we deal only with joints, in the end, we tend to deal with what we call systemic diseases that affect any part of the body.
Okay. Let's look at the structural mechanics of it. A joint is where what? Two bones meet?
Two bones meet.
Right.
And they may be joined together by cartilage and tendons.
Okay.
Those are like the ropes that hold the joints together. But these ropes are connected to things like the muscle.
Okay.
Okay, now your muscle and some of the tissues that make up the structures have certain cells that we call connective tissue, which you find in other areas of the body, including the heart, the lungs. So diseases that may affect this connective tissue, which usually end up being autoimmune conditions, invariably tend to cause a lot of joint pains. Okay. So that is how come we, even though the name suggests joints, we deal with a lot of other diseases beyond
Very broad.
that. Very broad.
Right. You've used another big word, autoimmune.
Yes.
Right? I guess most of my discerning listeners will know what the immune system is and what it does. But when you say autoimmune diseases, what are we talking about?
So auto means self.
Self, right?
And then your immune system. So we are talking about diseases in which your own immune system now attacks itself. Okay. The immune system is designed to be protective, to guard against foreign things that come into your body. Okay. It's been designed by God in such a way that if anything comes, it's supposed to attack until it destroys it. Okay. That's how it protects.
So akin to national security, this is personal security.
This is personal security.
Dealing with anything that invades your body.
And make sure that it's totally annihilated.
Okay.
So if the body somehow gets confused, which is what happens in an autoimmune condition, the signal somehow gets crossed and starts seeing some of these cells, including some of these connective tissues we mentioned earlier, as being foreign to it. Its purpose is attack until it destroys. Okay. So to keep attacking that cell until it has destroyed it. Okay. Unfortunately for the person who has this autoimmune disease, those cells are actually part of you. Okay. So in the end, what happens is your body is just trying to destroy itself.
Okay. Now, in the specific instance of rheumatoid arthritis, where is this damage occurring?
Where is this damage occurring? So we have two types of autoimmune disease. We have the localized type, and then we have the systemic form.
Okay.
rheumatoid arthritis is part of the systemic type of autoimmune diseases. So even though the name suggests rheumatoid arthritis, meaning joints, it affects more than the joints. So it attacks the joints primarily, the covering around the joint that we call synovium. So anywhere that you find synovium, the immune system is going to attack it. But because it's systemic, it goes beyond that.
Okay.
There are certain structures that also have synovium and beyond that. So it attacks the joints. You may find synovium in some of the vocal cords. So some people can actually present with hoarseness of the voice.
Okay.
But it attacks other structures. So we've had people who present with fluid around the heart, fluid around the lungs. It can affect the eyes. That's why it makes it systemic. So even it's not localized to the joint, but can affect other structures as well.
Okay, right. So the membrane around the joints,
Yes,
is what is attacked.
That's what
and
is
damaged
attacked.
or progressively
So
deteriorates.
progressively, it's attacked until it gets damaged.
Okay.
And once that covering is being attacked, it wears off. Then you end up getting what we call arthritis, where the joint is inflamed and then it wears away.
Okay.
So you start off with just inflammation. Inflammation is where the body is producing these chemicals that make the joints get swollen, very painful. It becomes very warm. We call that those signs of inflammation.
Okay.
And that's because the immune system is producing certain chemicals that makes or attacks the joints.
Okay.
Now, what happens is when this continues for a while, it wears off the synovium. Then the joints get exposed. So it literally, the bones don't have anything protecting it. So they are rubbing against each other. Then now it looks like the old ladies type of arthritis because theirs is a wear and tear. Because of aging and degeneration, this covering goes away and then it gets damaged. So now those old ones or the old ladies type tends to affect big joints. So usually tell you your knees. But this affects all the joints.
All joints.
Any joint that has a covering, which is literally every joint. So you find it in the fingers, you find it in the elbows, the shoulders, the back, mainly the spine or the cervical spine as a high a part of the vertebral column, the knees, the ankles. So any joints literally can be affected.
Okay, right. Now, I guess for Ghanaians listening to us now, there's an understanding. Something can go wrong with my immune system. It goes bonkers and it starts dealing with the body itself. Okay. So if I have this condition, would I feel anything before it gets very bad, like you just described? Would I sense anything that's indicative that my immune system is playing funny games?
Okay. So we have specific symptoms that may be related to rheumatoid arthritis, and we have other general symptoms. We call it constitutional symptoms that people have.
Okay.
A lot of people will present with fever. Okay, because the immune system is producing certain chemicals we call cytokines, and that's cause the body to get hot all the time.
So
it's
fever, essentially high temperatures.
High temperature.
Okay.
So continuous high temperature over a period of time. And this leads to a lot of people being treated for malaria on several occasions.
Okay.
Weight loss, because of these chemicals that they are producing as well. You notice a dramatic loss in weight without doing anything. So it's an unintentional weight loss. That same immune system's reaction tends to give a lot of what's called sweats in the night.
Okay.
So not daytime sweats, because so in the night when it's supposed to be cool, sometimes even in an air condition, you notice that you are sweating. So those are like the constitutional features, the sign that the immune system is working too much, and increasing your metabolism. Then we have the specific symptoms relating to the joints. So people present with pain and stiffness and swelling in the joints. Typically for rheumatoid arthritis, it starts in the hands and then the feet.
Okay.
Later, or sometimes it can affect the bigger joints like the wrists, the elbows, the knees. But if you're having stiffness, pain, swelling in the joints of the fingers or any of the joints there, which is lasting beyond 6 weeks and it's worse in the morning, you wake up in the morning and you're so stiff. It takes you a while before you feel loose enough to do your activities or walk. Or someone will tell you, I have to wait for 2 hours before I feel like I can mobilize easily. Those are signs that there's inflammation going on in the joints there.
Great. 17 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. We're discussing rheumatoid arthritis with rheumatologist Dr. Jifat Day. She's just been speaking. And next to her, you know, after listening to the signs and symptoms and trying to getting an understanding, I'm wondering what could be wrong with, which should I use, Charity or Cephacol? Sefako Zomelo. Now, you were diagnosed about 4 years ago, right? You're a banker.
Yes.
Okay. But looking at you, I mean, I have no cause for worry. So share with us, when were you diagnosed? I'll come back to Doc in a bit, but when were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed somewhere 2015
Okay.
at Kolebu. But before being diagnosed, had been treated for malaria several times.
Okay.
So I went to Bob Freeman Clinic. There, a doctor suggested he's seen people with this condition and he suspected to be rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
So then I came to Dr. D and...
The Bob Freeman Clinic is the SNIT clinic, isn't it? Oh,
yes.
No? Yeah? Yeah. Okay.
So from coming to Dr. D, I ran a lot of tests and then it was confirmed that I had rheumatoid arthritis. So
at that time, your presentation was what? Fever, high temperatures?
malaria and all that.
And you were being treated frequently for malaria?
Yes, and taking painkillers and injections. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any joint discomfort or pain at that time?
Yeah, I had swollen feet, joints, and then the arm, the elbows, the fingers, everything was included.
Okay.
So it made it difficult to wake up and then move. And you kind of walk like an old lady.
Right.
And then there were times
You don't
I had
look like one.
No, now.
Okay.
Not now.
Right.
And then there were times I had to go to office with a walking stick because I couldn't move well. Yeah, so I had to do that until I saw her, and then it's getting better.
Okay. I'll come back to you. I'm still trying to imagine you with a walking stick. But I'm sure, listeners, you can identify with some of the symptoms. That does not mean you have rheumatoid arthritis or you have an autoimmune disease, right? Now, there's a point at which it moved from the general to the specialist. Okay. So if there's somebody listening to us, and I know February you've launched and dedicated as
Rheumatoid
Arthritis Awareness Month, right? Under the theme what? Rising Phoenix.
Rising Phoenix.
We'll explain that in a sec. But at what point do you cross from just going to the hospital, or people will say the clinic, for some of these common symptoms to being investigated by a specialist? And would the normal, or should I say the regular doctor or practitioner, physician, be able to detect this?
Well, we are hoping they'll be able to detect it. That's part of the reasons why we are raising awareness.
Okay.
Because even among the medical profession, sometimes it takes a long time for them to have that index of suspicion. Mainly because a lot of people didn't used to think these conditions were common in black people.
Okay.
They thought it was white, Caucasian, old ladies who get this disease.
Right.
So we give a cutoff for about 6 weeks, as I mentioned earlier. If I'm sure you remember the last time you had malaria, you had a lot of joint pains. So a lot of other illnesses, malaria, infections, viral infections give you joint pain. But
Okay.
typically those ones will go away within a short period of time or weeks. So the cutoff when we are defining these conditions, if after 6 weeks, these symptoms that I talked about, joint pain, swelling, stiffness, added on to symptoms like the fever, weight loss, sweating in the night, are persistent beyond 6 weeks, then you need to...
So you're looking at the duration of the
The
presentation.
duration of the
How
symptoms.
long has it been there?
Exactly.
Right. And
So-
of course, it's also not responding to the
usual treatments. Yes.
Okay.
Then you should definitely see a specialist for them to look at it. We have a lot of autoimmune diseases that present with joint pains.
Right.
So you need to have the definition done.
Okay.
So not all the joint pains and swellings are rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
Sometimes it can be lupus. Sometimes it can be myositis.
Okay.
So you need to be certain about which particular one it is.
Okay,
there.
great. 22 minutes past the hour of 2, and we're progressing steadily. We're trying to understand this. Even in reading up, I realized there are more than 200 or more types of arthritis alone, right? Before we zero in onto rheumatoid arthritis, which we're talking about. If you have any experiences, questions, concerns, my WhatsApp is active 0244-340-437. You can send your questions ahead so that my guests can deal with them. In the studio with me, I have Charity Sefako Zomelo, a banker diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis 4 years ago. She's looking good now, but she'll share the story of the pain and the misery and the other parts shortly. Next to her, I have the specialist or the rheumatologist, Dr. Jifade. She's based primarily at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and she'll be taking most of the clinical questions as well. Let me ask this. Okay, so how do you pin it down? you've got the duration you've mentioned. Is there a test? Is there anything that will conclusively, should I say, validate the diagnosis?
Yes. So we look at the clinical features, the symptoms that you've presented with. So when I examine, or a doctor examines as well, we're looking at the pattern of where the joints are affected.
Okay.
So that gives us additional information there. Bear in mind, like I said earlier, that it's a systemic disease.
Right.
So I also look out for whether there are other areas of the body that have been affected.
Okay.
Apart from the joints there. So I put those things together, and then I decide that, okay, this fits in the pattern of rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
Then we have special tests that we do. We call them serological tests. So these tests look for certain things called antibodies that the body produces as a reaction to the immune response that has gone on.
Okay.
And it's specific for different types of autoimmune diseases.
Okay.
So for rheumatoid arthritis, we know which specific ones we need to order for. So we would order that, and then depending on whether we think other systems
So you're looking for the
involved
presence of these antibodies
in the blood, yes.
which would indicate that.
Which will indicate that this is indeed rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
Then because it affects the joint, it produces a peculiar reaction in the joints there. That is how come the joints get damaged and deformed. For rheumatoid arthritis, once the immune system reaction is going on, people think, oh, it's just joint pain, but it actually eats away at the joints. When you do an X-ray, you see the joints start developing erosions or holes in it, and that is how come the joints get destroyed. So an X-ray will be added to the investigations to see whether we see that typical picture.
Okay.
And if other organs are involved, yes, then we might have to do other investigations to, let's say, look at the lungs, the heart, the kidneys to make sure that there's no problem with that, or we need to treat those ones in addition.
Great. We're growing, we're learning about rheumatoid arthritis in this month of love, but also the month of RA, rheumatoid arthritis, where they've launched their awareness campaign under the Rheumatology Initiative. That's the body that is pushing all of this, I think under your leadership, or? Yes, Dr. Day's leadership. I was figuring out whether it was SNIT or it's SIC Clinic, Bob Freeman, right? Benis Donko Bedu sends me that correction. My discerning listeners, slip up, they'll get you, right? But we're all learning and growing. Yeah, I knew it was something else, S something, right? Okay, SIC Clinic. Okay, so we've got an understanding of how it's diagnosed, right? Who gets this and why? Basically, cause.
Once you have an immune system, you are able to get it. Not say likely. So children can get it, older people can get it. But typically we say people between the ages of 30 to 60 years are most likely to get it. We have a variety that affects children that we call the juvenile type or juvenile idiopathic arthritis. But for rheumatoid arthritis, usually between the ages of 30 to 60. That said, however, studies show that when you come to the tropical areas, which is where we are, people tend to get it at a younger age. That is why it's going to affect people like Suffolk. So the average age around, for our patients that we audited, was around 35 years.
Wow.
For our population, yes.
Okay. So it's hitting the productive group.
The productive age.
More common in women. I saw a study which suggests almost a ratio here of about 6-1.
Yes, well, looking at our whole population, the last audit, 8.9 is to 1. So 8.9 women to 1 male. So it's more common in women.
For RA.
For RA.
Right.
For rheumatoid
more
arthritis.
Common in women.
More common in women.
Okay.
Like
Is there any specific reason that or factor that accounts for this?
For rheumatoid arthritis, not exactly sure why it's women driven. In other hormonal, other diseases, some hormones have been implicated. But not specifically for rheumatoid arthritis.
Right. Somebody's asking if it's hereditary.
So it is not hereditary. So autoimmune diseases have a genetic background and you have an environmental factor that comes to trigger it. So we wonder why everybody doesn't get an autoimmune disease. So your genetic background programs how your immune system would behave. Okay. So some people have a genetic reason why their immune system will be hyperactive. So if you take people with rheumatoid arthritis, you might find that they have certain genes there. But you need something to come and provoke the immune system.
Right.
Which we call the environmental factor. For rheumatoid arthritis, we know smoking and people who work in places where there's a lot of dust or silica may also be predisposed there. But other things such as stress, which is so common these days because of our lifestyle. Stress is known to trigger the immune system. certain infections can come. Just your normal viral infections, your colds that you get, can also come and trigger the immune system. So when you have that genetic predisposition for your immune system to be overreactive, then that trigger comes.
Okay.
Then it starts overworking, and then it doesn't what?
So you have a hidden factor.
Yes.
Which
you could
largely
go
or
through
primarily
exactly.
is genetic.
And then
it
an
needs
environmental trigger
something
to
trigger
set
it.
it off. Yes.
Okay. I've got this from Fali. It says, "Hello, Norte. For the past 10 years, I've had pain and stiffness in my finger joints every time I keep my hands in water for about 30 minutes, or especially during chores. It's not accompanied by any of the other symptoms mentioned. Could I be suffering from this condition too? I'm only 32 years old."
So there are other autoimmune diseases that might be triggered by cold environments.
Okay.
There's something called Raynaud's. So
Right.
it might be worth her checking it out,
Okay.
especially if it's coming with any change in color at the fingertips there. Okay.
Okay.
But we know that rheumatoid arthritis or other joint symptoms tend to be provoked by cold weather. So those stories about people knowing when the weather is changing through their joint pains, sometimes it's actually true.
Right.
So a lot of times in the cold season, patients with rheumatoid tend to have worse symptoms.
Right. This is from Dede in Maryland. With knee pain, you are told your meniscus is degenerating. Is it related to arthritis, or is it a different diagnosis? Dede
So
wants to know.
this is likely to be the old age type of arthritis. Sorry
Okay.
if you're not old, but it's a wear and tear type of arthritis. So because you're aging, the cartilage gets dehydrated.
Dede, you are old. You are old. I know Dede. She's old.
And so yes, it's that one wears off, but it's not all of them are inflammatory, being set off by the immune system.
Okay. Good afternoon, Naughty. I'm suffering seriously from this condition. It started from my knees, which comes in about a month or two, then it goes. Now it has taken over all my joints. It swells and it's very painful that I can't even hold a cup of water in the morning. I've been suffering this since 2009. I've been to hospital and done some tests, but to no avail. Please help me with the doctor's number, or with her number. Michael from Odumasi Krobo. So he's suggesting a progressive deterioration.
Sounds very suspicious indeed.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Right. But he says he's suffering from it. I guess maybe he's been diagnosed, or listening to us, he feels right.
Sometimes it's difficult for people to make that diagnosis, or they keep putting them on pain medications. That's
Okay.
why raising awareness as well is helpful for the medical community, so that then they're able to piece it together.
Okay.
Because they always think, oh, it's just malaria, or it's something that would go. And especially if it keeps moving from hospital to hospital. So then nobody pieces the continued nature of it together to make that diagnosis.
Okay. 31 minutes past the hour of 2. We're about halfway through the show, but we still got work to do. Let me come to Sefako. If I may ask, how old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Okay. And so when you were around 32, 31, that's when you were diagnosed,
Yes.
right? And so how has it affected your life?
A lot. I can't do the things that I used to do more. So now I need to reserve my energy. And
Is it that you get tired? When you say you need to reserve...
I say I get tired, that would be, let's say, if you are tired, let's say you are tired, you can sleep for 2 hours and you'll be fine.
Okay.
But when I say I'm tired, I can sleep for 2 hours. I wouldn't be tired. I'm actually fatigued.
Right.
Yes, that's the right word, fatigue.
So it's not something you rest and recover from?
Yes.
It's there all the time?
It's there. So I can sleep 48 hours and still fatigue.
Okay.
That's it. And like, you can't go out. You plan to go out. And the next minute you call the person, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And the person may not understand you. It's like, you keep spoiling the arrangement for people, because it's like, oh, I'll go, the next one I can't go.
But why can you not go out? Is it because of the fatigue? Is it pain? What is it?
Yeah, because of the fatigue and then the pain you are going through. Maybe you can't even get out of bed and you are in pain also. How will you get up and
So
bath
this is
and
joint pain,
Joint
bodily pain?
And it's internal. When you are
Right.
not feeling well, you feel within you that everything is not okay.
Right.
You know? And so when it happens like that, everything just goes bad. You just want
So
to
how
keep
do
yourself-
you balance this with work and then demands? Are you married?
Yeah, I'm married.
Okay. You have kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. So how is this affecting work and, should I say, home?
Well, with work, thankfully I have a good boss who understands me. So
That must be rare.
Yes, she's
A
very
good boss who
Yes.
understands.
Yes.
Understanding means what? You can miss work at
Like-
any time?
No, she understands me when she comes and I'm a bit dull and I'm not well, or I want permission to go to hospital.
Okay.
Like she'll let you go. And then for the house, thankfully my husband understands. So
You're lucky.
yes. So and then we have some helpers who help. So most of the laundry and other things they do it. So that's it.
Wow. All right, I've got this from Richard in Accra. Note, don't you think, or he says, hi, Joy, don't you think the type of junk food and genetic fruits and vegetables, is he trying to say genetically modified, or genetic fruits and vegetables we eat can be the problem? Anything related to diet
So there are
as a trigger?
There are certain foods that people claim may trigger their inflammation.
Okay.
So you'd read about nightshade vegetables, so tomatoes, aubergine or garden eggs. For some people may trigger their symptoms, but it's not kind of specific or clear cut
Right.
for everybody. Actually, you notice that everybody has their trigger.
Okay.
Some people will mention citrus fruit. Some people, yes, will mention when they take canned drinks, the joint symptoms get worse.
Okay.
So there might be a relation to that. We definitely know that there are certain diets that actually can make the symptoms better
Right.
because they have an
So
anti-inflammatory
essentially, you have to
property.
get to know yourself and your
know
triggers.
exactly. So that's what we say. Instead of everybody being focused that okay, nightshades are bad, it's
Right.
actually you listening to your body and knowing which ones actually trigger it.
Alongside your doctor, you
Exactly.
can figure out a
Which one?
profile for
Yes,
yourself,
for yourself.
which is unique for you.
For you.
Somebody else's RA might be totally different.
Everybody's different.
Okay. Now, Dr. Day, with regard to something like sickle cell, we hear of crises.
Yes.
Okay. I hear Sefako describing a profile which suggests that time she's okay, and then suddenly she's not.
Yes.
Is it just like a crisis, or what
So
do you call
yes,
it?
we call it flares.
A flare.
A flare up of
Okay.
the symptoms there.
Right.
So even though Sefako might be looking well today, there might be certain periods where certain things can come and trigger a flare up.
Okay.
So maybe she's gone through a stressful time, she's gone partying and she didn't rest well enough, so
Okay.
she'll have a flare
You
up.
didn't ban her from partying?
We try to make them live as
Right.
normal as possible.
So you're trying to maintain a certain quality of
Life, yes,
Right.
definitely.
Okay.
So those might come and trigger up a flare up. And then when the disease is quiet, we call it a period of remission.
Okay.
Almost like what the cancer patients use. That everything is quiet now.
Okay.
We're hoping that you can live almost as normal as possible.
Great. I'll let my guests go quiet. They can't flare up now. I'm going to read a message or two, but I want to understand. So, how is this managed? We've understood how it's identified and diagnosed. What kind of management or treatment is Sefako undergoing? And is there a cure? I love asking this question. Sometimes I don't get the answer I want, but I will ask in a minute. Let me read this from Linda in Osu. Good afternoon, Norty, and greetings to your resource person. Jifa, you're very popular. A couple of guys, Dr. Benyubala was in the studio last week, the deputy registrar of the...
yes, divine, yes.
He says, my love to Jifa, and I said, are we safe? But I guess it's the safe kind of love.
He's my classmate.
He's your classmate. Yeah, I figured that. All right. Greetings to your resource person. I have this experience, and it made me remember when my dad was complaining the same when he was alive. My conclusion is that it comes with aging, so I deal with it anyway. So she's probably identifying with... How do we distinguish this from regular aging or wear and tear or aches and pains?
So the aging type, because the covering is worn off, activity makes it worse. Okay, so they'll
Okay.
tell you when I'm walking, by the end of the day,
When
it's
you
worse.
exert yourself.
Exactly,
Right.
because you keep rubbing it. The inflammatory type is being driven by the immune system. So activity actually makes it better. Once the immune system, the blood flow is easing off in the joints there, you feel better. That's how come they are very stiff in the mornings. And as the day goes by, they start feeling better.
Okay.
If you are young, you shouldn't have this. So if you are young and you're having it, then there must be a problem.
Okay.
So if her father had it, that doesn't mean that it's the same type of arthritis that she's having,
Okay.
especially if she's
It must
young.
be investigated.
It must be investigated.
All right. So, Doc, now look me in the eye and tell me, is there a cure?
No, there's no cure.
Oh, so you actually looked me in the eye and said it's straight. Bam. There is
Yes.
no cure.
Yes, we need people to understand that there's no cure. The only way we can cure it is by changing your immune system. Your immune system is part of you,
Wow.
but it can be managed effectively for you to be in a period of remission. Just like you look at Sefako and say, okay, she
It
doesn't
can
look-
be managed.
It can be
Cannot
managed.
be cured.
It cannot be cured. Just like hypertension and diabetes, you cannot cure it, but you can manage it for people to have good quality of life.
Okay. Let me ask another layperson's question. I can't get it from Cefacor.
No, it is not contagious.
I just took a picture with her, so...
No, it is not contagious.
Right.
It's not hereditary either.
Right.
She would not directly pass it on to her
children.
children.
Okay.
The chances of that is very slim,
Okay.
about 2 to 5%.
Okay. All right. I'll take that as a pinch of good news, right? But so let's start pinning this. So what have you been doing, or what is the management or treatment regimen? What do you do for persons with this condition?
So if you remember, we said the immune system is overacting,
Okay.
and damaging the structures in the body. So what we basically try to do is to calm the immune system down, to try and bring it down to normal levels. So we use drugs that we call immunosuppressants to suppress the immune system, which is different from things like HIV, because people hear immune and then they automatically think about that, where your immune system is low. Here it is too high, and so we are trying to calm it down. We use drugs such as steroids, which is one of the basic drugs that we use to calm it down, and then other more potent immunosuppressive drugs there. Now these drugs come in different forms. There are some that are tablets. We have newer ones that we call biologics, which are more effective but very expensive. But it all depends on how severe the disease is and which organs are affected, or other comorbid problems that the person might have. So if the disease is mild, I can get away with using maybe 1 or 2 immunosuppressive drugs. Some may be very serious and need certain infusions, or that's drugs that are passed through IV infusions and are more expensive.
And so this is the day-to-day, should I say, life story of Cefacor.
Yes.
She's on these drugs, and from what you describe and explain, this is for life.
This is for life.
She can't go off them.
So we target a state called remission. People are able to get to a state of remission where you might come off these drugs gradually. Sometimes we succeed and you might be on the barest minimum of drugs. We have a few patients who are gone to a state of remission where they are not on any medications. It is not so common, but it can happen as well there. But we can get you to a state of remission where you are on a few drugs, or you've been treated sometimes with a lot of drugs, and then we gradually reduce them.
Okay, let me ask this one as well, and I guess my listeners will want to know. Shortly, I'll activate the phone line so you ask your own questions. But so these drugs that will suppress or lower or cool down my immune system, wouldn't they cause other problems?
Yes, they can. Remember, the immune system also has a function. So sometimes we may overshoot the mark, and your immune system might be suppressed too low. So then that exposes you to risk of infections there. So we're always trying to balance and make sure that that's well controlled there. But if you look at the benefits versus the risk there, these diseases, everybody sees it as just joints. Can damage your heart, can damage your lungs, can predispose you to cancers. If you take someone with rheumatoid arthritis who is not treated, his lifespan is about 10 to 15 years less than somebody who is not who doesn't have rheumatoid arthritis. So it has implications for the long term there. So not treating it is actually worse. So you have to weigh the benefits versus the risks.
Wow. All right, weigh the benefits, right? Peter in McCarthy Hill just switched on his radio. Peter, how could you do that to Ultimate Health? 2 o'clock, bam, we are there, right? We're discussing rheumatoid arthritis. He wants to know what we're talking about, okay? It's an autoimmune disease, and I've got in the studio with me Dr. Jifade, a rheumatologist in Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and then Cefacor is kindly sharing her life story and her experience with rheumatoid arthritis. I'm going to activate the phone line 0302-216-541. If you have any questions, concerns, experiences, you can download them onto my guests in the studio. Me, I'm just a gatekeeper. Right? So there are some challenges with medication, but this also suggests that you should be in regular contact with your doctor or your specialists, and these levels and the level of functioning of your immune system is always routinely monitored. Okay. Now, we've talked about swelling. Will you actually see signs of swelling?
You actually see signs of swelling in the joints there. And if you touch it, it will be painful. So some people get just the stiffness for a long time before the swelling starts. So the stiffness is one of the important things to remember. You're waking up and your fingers are stiff. People tell you, I'm not able to make a fist early in the morning. And it takes a while before I'm able to open up my hands or grip objects in the morning, then you should be suspicious.
Right. Will you at any stage experience or evidence any physical deformity?
Yes. So we mentioned that in rheumatoid arthritis, the immune system attacks the joint and it starts eating away, causing erosions in the joints there. Over time, what happens is the joints gets damaged. The ligaments or the tendons, which are the ropes that are supporting the joints, get loose or lax. So the joint starts drifting apart. They fold onto each other because the edges have been worn away or eaten away.
Displacement will take place.
Displacement will take place. You notice peculiar signs in the fingers. If you Google on the internet, we have peculiar things that occur in the joints that they become curved. Some parts become swollen, and if you leave it, it will damage the big joints as well. So in the past, people end up in wheelchairs.
Wow.
Because these diseases were not well controlled with the medications that were available then. If it affects your spine, for example, it can actually even paralyze you because it collapses the vertebral column and then you may end up with paralysis.
Okay, great. I've got Ajiman on my line from Tema. Is this Ajiman Joseph?
Yeah, no,
wow. Yeah, I need to have lunch with you. You're so regular and so loyal.
Yeah, your program enlightens us always.
Thank you. Share with us quickly.
Yeah. I believe your resource person was talking about the sickness having links with immune system.
That's right.
So which means if you always keep your immune system at the highest level, you are not at the risk of getting this sickness. And also, improving your immune system when you have been diagnosed with this sickness. I know that immune system booster comes with exercises apart from good diet.
Okay.
And how does the exercise go with this? Because as it is in joint, how does the exercise go with it?
Okay. Right. So he's talking about boosting your immune system. Let me just quickly take Frank. Hello, Frank.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Frank. You're welcome. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bato.
Bato. Okay. Share with us quickly.
Yes, I've been following the discussion, and I want to find out whether, as Steph is married but without children now, would the drugs have any effect on her or the baby when she gets pregnant?
You've been stealing my questions, but good question from Frank in Bato. I have Monique or Monica on my line. Hello.
Hello, Notte. Good afternoon to you all.
Afternoon. Is it Monique?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Donla Boutique.
Right.
Yes. What I'd like to ask is, if I swing my leg from my knee, from the knee joint, if I'm lying down flat, and I swing I hear there's a sound in it, like a wheel turning or something, sound. And I wonder I'm 61. Okay. I wonder what that is.
Okay.
There's a bit of pain, but it's not there all the time.
Okay. And you are, is it 5'1" or 6'1"? 61.
6, yes.
61.
6'1",
okay.
Yes.
Stop swinging it, okay? But I'll get an answer.
Well, I'm doing my exercise.
I understand. don't mind me, right? Okay. If you leave me, I'll probably say go to Kokompe. They'll get the parts for you, right? But let me get an answer from Doc. So she's experiencing some...
Okay. So that's the sign
funny.
of wearing away of the joints covering.
Okay.
We call it crepitus. So as she described, it's like the engines moving. So it's like a cogwheel, right?
Right.
So it's a sign that, it's a sign that the covering of the joints is worn away.
Okay.
And from her age that she's mentioned, it's most likely the wear and tear type of osteoarthritis, as we call it.
Okay.
So she may have to see a
Which
doctor for
tends
X-ray.
to be non-inflammatory.
Non-inflammatory,
Right.
related to just aging or degeneration.
Okay.
There. So she may have to see a doctor for X-rays to be done and some physiotherapy to help.
Great. Ajiman Joseph in Tema is suggesting or asking, exercise, how does it impact on the person's condition? And then if you were to boost your immune system, there are lots of things that we see over the counter that suggest that they will boost your immune system.
So that's like pouring petrol on fire, boosting your immune system. Remember that we said the immune system is overactive.
Okay.
So going to boost it is like triggering a firestorm instead of actually dampening it down.
Okay.
So we do not advocate that. We advocate, building your immune system with your normal fruits and vegetables to make sure that there's a modulation of it there.
Okay.
But not pushing it with formulations that are designed to actually...
I'm glad you made that clarification. I've got PM on my line. Good afternoon, PM.
Good afternoon.
Right. Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Afienya.
Afienya. Okay, right. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I have this pain on my left shoulder.
Okay.
And For example, when you're bathing, you use your left hand to bath your other side.
Okay.
And anytime I try to do that, I have a severe pain there. I'm unable to stretch my left arm up correct. So I want to find out what the problem might be.
It's restricted to only your left side?
Yes, my left arm on the elbow there.
Okay.
Getting to my neck area there, yeah.
Only when you're bathing?
No, regularly, frequently. I'm unable to raise up my left hand completely, yeah.
Right. Doc.
Okay, so that seems quite localized. So might be just something related to that particular joint. So suggests there might be some degenerative problem, or he might have torn it. We don't know his age.
So he goes to a regular physician?
For a GP to examine it and decide whether there are X-rays.
Right. Hi, Joy FM. Okay, I like that name. Hi. We must ensure that we remove toxins from the body every day. I have a similar problem, but when I drink lemon in warm water first thing in the morning and eat lots of fruits and organic vegetables, it goes away. Also, a lot of clean water, about 3.5 pints every day. So is he talking about prevention there?
I'm not exactly sure that there's
any correlation.
Yes, any correlation. Yes, we know healthy living, more fresh fruits and vegetables help relieve the symptoms.
Okay.
But it doesn't cure it. It's not so simple as saying I take just a pint of water and lemon and it will cure this disease.
Okay. Great. I'm getting lots on my WhatsApp console. Somehow my laptop here is thinking about it. It's yet to load them. Right. 49 minutes past, Joe. So is there anything else? Somebody asked about you having children and, pregnancy and RAs.
So yes, as your listener rightly questioned there, we have to balance how active the disease is versus the reproductive needs of the patients there.
Okay.
We have drugs that are safe for the patient to get pregnant on if the disease is still active as at the time they want to get pregnant. So when
she
it's getting
can get pregnant.
Yes, so it's a discussion. We formulate a plan. So at this time, we'll switch you on to the ones that are safe enough for you to be able to get pregnant. So we, can manage that for them to have. There's no loss of fertility in this disease either.
You're smiling, Sefako, right?
Yes.
You discussed the plan already. So when should we come to the outdooring?
When it comes.
When it comes. Okay, great. I love Dr. Jifade so much. He's hardworking and doing well with the advocacy of rheumatoid arthritis. Keep up the good work. This is from Dr. Irajwa Nunu at the Ridge Hospital. The fans, okay. I'll accept the female ones. Dede is back. I've seen people with arthritis and with time their toes and fingers get deformed. Can this be avoided with... It's still loading. Let's see. Oh, why is this thing slowing me down today? Right, but she's asked...
So if it's the rheumatoid arthritis type, then yes, with medication, early diagnosis and treatment, yes, we can avoid that happening.
Right.
Okay. And that is why we advocate for early treatment. In other parts of the world, they say by 6 weeks you should be diagnosed, so that the erosions don't even start. And then you can be treated so that this doesn't happen.
Great. This is from Eddie Kwashi. Last week you called about somebody practicing or operating a clinic or a hospital who is not qualified. And we called you after the show, and Dr. Benyubala was supposed to call you. You're saying he hasn't called yet. I'll follow up, Eddie, and get back to you. Okay? What advice do you have? Let me quickly read that. What advice do you have? Loading. All right. Okay, I have a caller on the line. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Who am I speaking to?
Sarah, please.
Sarah.
Tema.
Okay,
yes.
Share with us.
Okay, so I've been feeling this pain in my left leg for quite a while now. I don't know what it is, but whenever I'm walking, I feel some pains. When I sit for a while and I don't stretch my leg, I feel some pains in my left leg, just the left one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is. I've been listening to your show. They've been talking about arthritis. I wanted to know whether probably there's something wrong with me so that I'll go to the hospital and go and check it out.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 29.
29.
Yes, please.
So that's suspicious. What is more suspicious is worse when she sits for a long time. Okay, so that might suggest something inflammatory is going on there.
Okay.
She needs to furnish us with other information like whether there's any swelling, whether there's any warmth over the area. But because of her age, it will be good for it to be checked out. Yeah.
Okay. Barbara is in Tema and she's on my line. Hello, Barbara.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Share with us.
Yeah, please, I want to ask Doc, when I sit down, when I sit flat on the floor, I can't sit with my two legs stretched unless I bend my right leg. And I don't know. I had a cesarean 13 years ago, and I feel pain at my spine.
Okay.
But when I sit, I have to bend my right leg.
Okay, how old are you?
41.
31.
41.
41. Okay.
Yes.
Doc, any comments on that?
It might be related to her back problems there. It might be mechanical, how she's lying down, probably trying to ease the pain at her back so she doesn't stretch her legs fully.
Okay.
So she may want to check that and see. If she's able to sit down, when she's sitting, she's able to stretch her legs out fully. Then, of course, that takes the back out of the equation there.
Okay.
So it might be more related to the back if that's what happens, that when she sits up, she's able to straighten it.
Okay, let me take my last caller, Kwame. Good afternoon, Kwame.
Good afternoon, Nati.
Right, share with us quickly.
Nati, I've been experiencing bitterness in my mouth, and then I've been treating malaria, but still it's not going away.
Bitterness in your mouth?
Yes. And then apart from that, when I wake up in the morning like this, I experience stiffness around my calf, and then I also experience some tingling around my fingers as well. I don't know whether it can have you attributed to tomato.
Okay, have you been to the hospital with these complaints?
Of course, I said I'm a diabetic. I don't know whether...
Right, you're also diabetic?
Yeah.
Okay. Doc?
Diabetes comes with a lot of joint problems as well. There's some non-specific joint pains there. If the bitterness in the mouth, which everybody usually attributes to malaria, is coming with any of the features that we mentioned, real fever, weight loss or sweats in the night, then if there's any swelling in the joints, then it might be worth checking that out. There.
Okay. Right. What do you advise for those who always want to go for pain and joint pain capsules anytime they are feeling pain in their joints? Ajiman Joseph again in Tema.
They really should get it checked out. If it's something that is occurring regularly, it's best for it to be assessed, especially because the painkillers come with their own side effects after regular use.
Okay. Right. So you have your initiative, the rheumatology initiative, right? And you have the awareness month. Okay. Tell us quickly a bit about that and what you want. I know there are support groups and other things, yeah?
So the rheumatology initiative was a charity or foundation that we founded in 2012. One of our primary aims was to raise awareness about this condition. A lot of people at that time had no knowledge at all about this. And we needed it to go out in the general public and among the medical personnel that this diseases were common and to educate people about it. A lot of patients thought they were the only ones who had this condition there. And that's cumulated into the formation of a support group to help them to have some peer support to be able to manage the conditions better, because it comes with a lot of impacts. Imagine young people having to take medications for life, affecting your family situation, affecting your education. You needed a lot of support there.
Okay.
With time as well, we had to do some advocacy. Our drugs are not on the national health insurance. These are drugs that are quite expensive. Even diagnosing the condition can be expensive for the patients there. We need to advocate for the ministries to know that these conditions are making a real impact.
Okay.
I'm sure you know that musculoskeletal conditions actually are the number one problems in Ghana, but nobody takes any special notice.
So are you getting the response?
We are trying. Last 2 years, we managed to get the ministry to recognize lupus, which is another autoimmune disease, ratify that as a lupus awareness month. Our drugs are now on the new standard treatment guidelines. It's yet to be implemented, but we hope that some of them at least would be. So those are the things that we've been trying to do. And above all as well, supporting the patients for those who cannot afford the diagnosis or treatment.
Right.
We try to support that initial diagnosis or treatment, especially when they come in an emergency, because it is just not right to see a young person who short treatment can mean the difference between life and death.
Right. Let me ask the two of you, if you can share what you want the public to do. I know you have a bank account, you have other details. Quickly, in about a minute, what you require by way of support from the public?
So we have a mobile money number. For those who think they might have the disease as well, they can call that for inquiries or support. So 054 408 9065.
Okay.
In order to support our work as well, we have a bank account with EcoBank, Dansuman. The account number is 0.
Can we give a web page? I guess all
Yes.
these details are there.
Yes.
Right.
We
So
have
let's
a
give the web page.
there.
Right.
So try Ghana, TRI Ghana, www.trighana.com. Sorry.
Okay. All right. And that will take you to the
That will take you there.
Rheumatology Initiative.
Yes,
That's
you'll
the
find
TRI.
us TRI.
Okay.
TRIghana.com. You find us on Facebook and other social media like Instagram and Twitter as well.
Right. What we will do is put all those details on our page as well for our listeners and see if we can do a follow-up program as well. Sefako,
Yes.
what do you want to leave us with?
Well, what I want is the public should help us to raise more funds
Okay.
for patients who cannot afford treatment.
Mm.
And then they should give us more platform such as this
Okay.
to come and help create more awareness about the condition.
Okay. Great. Doc, any...
Well, early diagnosis makes such a difference. So I would say that patients should try and seek early diagnosis.
Okay.
These diseases can affect anyone. Okay. So unfortunately, there's some stigmatization, people calling people lazy and stuff. That is something that can affect anyone.
Okay.
And so even though someone looks ill, doesn't look ill, they might be going through a lot more than they can physically see. And so they should be sympathetic as well to the cause there. But above all, early treatment could save lives, literally.
Great. As Iggy sets up, let me ask, how many rheumatologists do we have?
Unfortunately, only 2 with a 3rd in training now.
All right.
And
We
one
need to
in
start
Kumasi. Yes.
cloning you or photocopying
We
you.
need a huge campaign.
Right. Okay.
And a lot more patients than you can imagine.
Okay. Great. I won't go into what the picture is like across the country, but to my 2 ladies in the studio, Dr. Jifade, rheumatologist, Kolebu Teaching Hospital, thank you so much. And Sefako, we're waiting for the baby,
Yes,
right? And thank you so much for sharing your story. There's a lot more we'll have to do, and I'll talk with my producer to see if we can bring you back to share into detail what your life is really like. And maybe I need to bring an HR practitioner into the picture once to see where, some of these issues in the workplace as well. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you to my discerning listeners and, of course, my producer, Abekusa Kofi. Iggy is up next. He was just out of here. He's done the country music. He's back to do Sunday rhythms. My name is Note by nature. I'll be back next week with more. Stay on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm out.
Joy 99.7 FM. There is no force